Aloha and welcome back to the Siren Circle. I'm Alicia Marie, and I am so glad that you are here with me for today's episode, episode 13. If you are new to our circle, welcome. You are stepping in for a conversation that is near and dear to my heart, and honestly, one that really needs to be talked about in our community right now. Today, we are tackling a topic that gets blurred and confused and misconstrued every single day on social media: gut feeling or tarot deck, the real difference between intuition and divination. If you have spent even 5 minutes scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Live lately, you have probably seen it. Someone goes live, shuffles a deck of tarot cards, and proclaims to thousands of viewers, "I don't actually learn the meanings of the cards. I just use pure intuition." Or maybe you've seen readers completely throw out centuries of established symbolism to deliver vague, dramatic, or blanket predictions for quick views and digital tips. Now, let's just call a spade a spade. Some of these people are flat out grifters looking to make a quick bag off vulnerable people scrolling at 2 in the morning. But there are also plenty of well meaning beginners who have been sold a false narrative. They've been told that learning real card meanings doesn't matter, that structure is unnecessary, and that all you need is your intuition to read tarot or even other forms of divination. I am going to be very direct with you today. That idea is completely wrong. It is a myth that dilutes the sacred art, it flattens the craft, and it disrespects systems of divination that have been preserved across generations. Intuition and divination are not the same thing. Your intuition is your internal gut feeling, it's that immediate physical response that your body gives you. Divination, on the other hand, is a structured sacred system of external symbols with a rich history, specific mechanics, and a clear language. When a practitioner takes the time to master the actual language of a divination tool and blends that knowledge with their natural intuition, that's where the real magic starts to happen. This is what creates a truly brilliant, grounded, and life changing reader. But using intuition as an excuse to avoid studying the tool, that's not really reading. That's just making up a story based on pictures and your feelings. So, in today's episode, we are going to unpack this completely. We are going to clearly define intuition, psychic abilities, and divination. We'll look at why having strong psychic hits still doesn't replace learning a system. We're going to explore sacred divination arts, from tarot and the mechanics of the Fool's Journey to tea leaf readings, coffee grounds, and palmistry. We're going to talk about why these traditional methods deserve our protection. We'll also call out the social media algorithms that trap us in fake readings, talk about how to stop using cards as an anxious crutch, and I'll share how you can learn the real traditional mechanics of the deck with me step by step. Before we dive into these definitions, a quick shout out to the sponsor of our circle today, my business, The Magic Siren. If you want to cut through the digital noise and look at your real authentic birth chart or tarot blueprint, I am here to guide you. Over at themagicsiren.com, you can book a live personalized reading session or join our upcoming tarot workshop where we explore these sacred arts with depth and integrity. And as a thank you for sitting in this circle with me, you can use the code Siren Circle at checkout for 10% off any personal reading. Okay, so grab your tea, settle into your space, and let's dive into the real difference between the voice inside your gut and the tools in your hands. To build a clear foundation for this conversation, we need to start by defining our terms. In spiritual spaces, people love to throw around words like intuition, psychic ability, and divination as if they are completely interchangeable. Well, they aren't. They operate in different ways, sit in different parts of your system, and serve entirely different functions. Let's break down intuition first. Intuition is your body's built in internal radar. It is the human survival mechanism that lives directly in your nervous system and your physical body. It is that sudden gut drop when something feels off in a conversation, or that quiet, unshakable wave of calm when you've made the right choice. Intuition doesn't require a single tool, a book, or a single card pulled from a deck. It processes subtle environmental cues, past experiences, and energetic shifts beneath your conscious awareness. It delivers a direct signal straight to your body. Everyone has intuition, and it is a fundamental part of being human. Then we have psychic abilities. While intuition is a internal gut instinct, psychic abilities involve perceiving subtle energetic information beyond the standard physical senses. This is where terms like clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairsentience, which is clear feeling, or claircognizance, which is clear knowing, comes into play. It is the ability to tune in to the subtle field around a person, a place, or an event. Now, here is where so many modern readers get tripped up. Having strong psychic hits or a sharp intuition is absolutely incredible, but it is not a substitute for learning a divination system. Having a naturally great ear for music doesn't mean you automatically know how to play the piano without learning where the keys are. If you sit down at a piano without knowing the basic chords, you can bang out a nice melody by ear, but you aren't reading sheet music. Psychic ability and intuition give you sensitivity to the energy in the room, but they do not teach you the specific mechanics of a sacred tool. That brings us to divination. Divination is an external, structured framework of symbols, archetypes, and systems that act as a mirror for reality. Divination is not happening inside your body, it is an established language that exists outside of you. When you practice divination, you are stepping into a historical tradition that has its own grammar, vocabulary, and rules. Tarot is a perfect example of a complex divination system, but it is far from the only one. Look at the ancient art of tasseography, reading tea leaves, or cafeomancy, reading coffee grounds. These aren't just random swirls in a cup that you project feelings onto. Traditional readers who hold these lineage arts know that specific shapes, distances from the rim, and quadrants of the cup hold precise structural meanings passed down through generations. The same is true for palmistry or chiromancy. The lines on your palm, the heart line, the head line, the lifeline, along with the mounds of the hand, carry precise physical definitions. A real palm reader isn't making up a story on the fly. They are reading an intricate map printed on your skin. When you decide to pick up a divination tool, whether it's a deck of tarot cards, a cup of tea, a set of runes, or someone's hand, you are agreeing to translate a pre existing language. Your intuition helps you deliver that translation with empathy, nuance, and personal relevance. But if you throw out the language entirely and rely only on your gut, you aren't practicing divination anymore. You're just doing a blind, intuitive read and using a sacred tool as a prop. Understanding this boundary is the first step towards respecting the craft. Divination systems were designed to give our human minds an objective, grounded mirror so we don't just loop in our own internal bias. When we take the time to learn the actual system, we honor the lineage of the practice. and we give our intuition a clear structure to work through. Now that we have defined these boundaries, let's address what's happening on social media right now and why this just use your intuition narrative is so harmful to the craft. If you jump on social media live streams today, you will see a flood of readers who pick up a deck of cards, flip one over, and give a wild, ultra specific prediction that has absolutely nothing to do with the card in their hand. A reader might pull the Four of Pentacles, a card deeply rooted in boundaries, stability, the conservation of resources, and protecting the things that you've worked so hard for. And they'll say, "Oh, I feel in my gut that he is texting his ex right now and thinking about moving across the country to be with them." Where did this come from? It didn't come from that card. It's the reader projecting their own internal thoughts or trying to tell a dramatic story for a view using a sacred deck as a background prop. When we erase the traditional definitions of tarot, we strip the tool of its core mechanics. Tarot is not a random collection of 78 pretty pictures. It is a highly sophisticated, interconnected architectural system. The 78 cards tell a specific human story known as the Fool's Journey. Think of the Fool's Journey as the ultimate map of human consciousness. The major arcana cards, from card 0, which is the Fool, all the way through card 21, which is the World, represents the major spiritual, developmental, and psychological milestones that we all walk through in a lifetime. When a client sits down for a reading, they are the fool. They are the protagonist stepping off the cliff, encountering the structure in the Emperor, learning the spiritual truth in the Hierophant, facing rock bottom shifts in the Tower, and achieving wholeness with the world. The minor arcana cards then flesh out the daily details of that journey. The mental battles in the swords, the emotional currents in the cups, the physical and financial realities in the pentacles, and the passion and action in wands. This entire structure is designed to tell a coherent story. The deck provides the precise map of where this person is standing on their journey. Your intuition is the bridge that connects that map to their actual life. For example, if you pull the Tower card, this card's mechanics tell you that a rigid, unaligned structure on the client's life is undergoing a very necessary, unexpected, or sudden breakdown. That is the objective definition of this card. Your intuition is what helps you sense whether that breakdown is happening in their career, in an old relationship dynamic, or an internal belief system that they have outgrown. The card provides the blueprint, while your intuition provides the personal context. When a reader claims they don't need to know the cards because they only use intuition, they are throwing away the map entirely. Imagine going to a medical doctor who looks at an x ray, throws it in the trash, and says, "I don't need to look at the bones. I'm just going to use my gut to figure out what's wrong with you." You would walk out immediately. Divination tools require study. They require learning elemental dignities, suit mechanics, numerological roots, and archetype stories. When you take the time to learn the actual mechanics, you are showing respect for the ancestors, scholars, and practitioners who protected and passed down the sacred arts through centuries of persecution. You stop relying on guesswork and you step into the truer power of being a fluent translator of the deck or other tool of divination. To truly grasp why the just use intuition narrative is so problematic, We also have to talk about something that almost never gets brought up on social media: the historical and cultural weight of these tools. Divination systems did not appear overnight on an app. They are surviving lineage practices that were protected, preserved, and handed down through generations, often at immense personal risk to the people holding them. Look at the history of these systems across different cultures. For centuries, practitioners of folk magic, traditional cartomancy, tea leaf reading, and palmistry operated in secret. During periods of religious prosecution, political upheaval, or social marginalization, marginalized communities, particularly women and indigenous groups, held on to these arts. They memorized the intricate symbolic languages, suit associations, and spatial geometrics because these systems were a lifeline. They offered spiritual sanctuary, community guidance, and practical insight when mainstream society offered none. When a modern influencer flips open a deck on a live stream and says, "The traditional card definitions don't matter, I just feel the vibe," what they are unintentionally doing is flattening a rich historic language. It is a form of cultural erasure. It tells the ancestors, scholars, and lineage holders who protected these systems through centuries of hardship that their frameworks were meaningless, that the intricate numerology of the tarot, the planetary mounts of palmistry, or the geometric positions in a cup of coffee grounds were just arbitrary filler. Divination systems were created specifically to act as an objective third party, a sacred mirror that sits outside of the ego. Ancient practitioners understood that human intuition can be clouded by personal fear, grief, desire, or projection. That is precisely why they built and refined structural systems. The cards, the runes, or the lines on a hand act as an anchor to keep the reader honest. When you throw away the system, you throw away that objective anchor. You leave yourself completely vulnerable to reading your own subconscious bias back to the client. When you take the time to sit down with a book, study with a generational reader, memorize the suits, and understand the historical roots of the craft that you are practicing, you step into a lineage. You aren't just pulling cards for fun, you are participating in a living, breathing historical tradition. Honoring the structure of the tool is how we show respect to the people who kept it alive for us to use today. When a practitioner takes the time to learn the traditional mechanics and marries that with knowledge of a grounded internal radar, that's where the magic happens. This is the gold standard of reading. You are no longer just reciting a textbook, nor are you making up stories out of thin air. You are operating as a fluent translator who can read the script on the page and deliver it with real human empathy and context. Let's look at how this blend plays out in practice. Take a card like the Three of Swords. The core, non negotiable definition of this card centers on heartbreak, grief, and sharp mental clarity through pain. Sometimes this is also a necessary boundary that cuts through an illusion. That is the objective definition anchored in the card's mechanics. The number 3 represents expansion. communication. It's paired with the intellectual, piercing energy of the swords. So, how does intuition step in? Well, if you pull the Three of Swords for a client, your studied knowledge tells you what energy is present, a painful moment of truth or loss. Your intuition, however, is what picks up on the subtle frequency in the room. It guides you to sense whether that grief is tied to a recent breakup, a betrayal in a business partnership, or an internal realization that an old dream has run its course. The definition gives you the anchor, and your intuition gives you the personal application. This same powerful blend applies across every single divination art. If you are reading tea leaves or coffee grounds, you aren't just making up shapes for fun. The cup has traditional quadrants, time frames, physical spaces, and specific symbols passed down through generations. Your studied skill identifies the specific symbol, like an anchor representing stability or a bird representing news coming, while your intuition senses how that message connects directly to the person holding the cup. A skilled palm reader looks at the physical terrain of the hand, the depth of the headline, the breaks in the lifeline, or the prominence of the mound of Venus carry specific established meanings. Intuition allows the reader to weave those physical facts into a cohesive narrative that speaks straight to the client's current emotional crossroad. A rune like Thurisaz has a traditional heavy meaning rooted in Norse mythology regarding challenge, boundary protection, and reactive force. An astrological transit like a Saturn square carries precise structural themes. You cannot change what the symbols mean, but your intuition helps you communicate those heavy truths in a way that empowers the person sitting across from you. When you master the traditional language of your chosen tool, you gain an unshakable confidence that pure gut feeling can never replace. You aren't sitting there panicking, wondering what to say next, or worrying if you're making things up. You have the structural foundation of a time tested system beneath your feet. From that solid foundation, your intuition can soar, providing deep, accurate, and transformative guidance that honors both the sacred art and the human being in front of you. Okay, now let's pause for a moment and turn to talk about the media ecosystem that we are swimming in every day. Because social media has completely transformed how people consume divination. We need to talk about what happens when you open TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube Shorts late at night and start scrolling through your feed. The algorithm on these platforms is a neural network designed with one singular goal: to maximize your screen time by tapping into your deep emotional triggers. The second you pause on a short form tarot video, maybe because you are going through a tough breakup, feeling anxious about your career, or waiting for a text from someone, the algorithm registers that watch time. Within minutes, your feed gets flooded with dozens of collective general tarot readings aimed at your vulnerableness. Suddenly, every video you see claims he's coming back tonight, or they realize what they lost and they're regretting it, or huge financial wealth is coming to you in 24 hours if you use this audio. Let's be completely honest about what's happening here. Most of these videos are engineered specifically to exploit your anxiety and desire for reassurance. The creators behind them are playing a numbers game. They drop hyper vague, emotionally charged blanket statements designed to fit literally millions of people simultaneously. And because your nervous system is seeking relief from uncertainty, you get hooked in a cycle of doom scrolling. You scroll from one reader to the next, looking for the video that gives you the exact answer that you want to hear, rather than facing the actual reality of your situation. This creates a dangerous habit where divination stops being a sacred tool for self reflection and becomes an anxious crutch. There is a massive difference between using divination to gain clarity and using it to feed an obsession. When you're pulling cards every 2 hours, asking the same questions: does he love me? Is he thinking about me right now? Will he call me tomorrow? Or when you spend 3 hours a night scrolling through algorithm driven readings on your phone, you aren't engaging in a spiritual practice. You are operating from a state of fight or flight. You are using the tools to try and control an outcome you feel powerless over. When you use cards or readings as a crutch, you actively bypass your own internal authority. You stop trusting your physical eyes, your real world evidence, and your true gut feelings because you're holding out hope for a 15-second video created by someone who doesn't know your name, your history, or your charts. This is why learning how to filter out grifters and identify authentic, grounded practitioners is an essential skill for anyone on a spiritual path. A genuine reader will never try to hook you on to an anxious dependency. A real practitioner will tell you the truth of what the cards say, even when it's uncomfortable. And then they will hand the power right back to you. They remind you that no card, transit, or tea leaf overrides your personal free will and sovereign choice. If you find yourself caught in a social media loop, here is your moment to break it. First, you're going to want to clean up your feed. Unfollow or scroll past accounts that use manipulation tactics, countdown, timer pressure, or fear based predictions to get views. Look for readers who educate you on the traditional meanings, who demonstrate real skill, and who speak with emotional maturity. Second, learn when to put the deck down. If you pull a card on a situation and you get a clear answer, honor that answer. Do not pull five more cards trying to negotiate with the deck until you get the response that your ego wants. If you pull cards when your nervous system is dysregulated, you are only going to read your own anxiety back to yourself. Put the deck away, close the social media apps, take a step outside, and ground your physical body. Remember that divination is meant to offer a mirror for your personal growth, not a digital security blanket to hide behind when reality gets uncomfortable. When you choose to reclaim your attention and step away from the digital noise, you open up space for true, meaningful spiritual practice. The next time a short form video pops up promising a quick fix or a dramatic prediction, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this content grounding me in reality, or is it fanning the flames of my anxiety? When you learn to spot the difference between an algorithm designed to keep you scrolling and a genuine practitioner who respects the craft, everything will start to shift. You'll notice that you stop consuming spiritual content passively out of habit or worry, and you begin seeking out real education, authentic community, and traditional wisdom. You return to the driver's seat of your own life, where your choices, your boundaries, and your actions hold the ultimate power. Okay, so if you're listening to this today and realizing, I want to be a real practitioner of my craft, I don't want to just guess or rely on short form videos. Let's talk about how you actually sit down and study these sacred tools right away. Learning a divination art is an incredible, lifelong journey, but it does require structure, dedication, and patience. Every traditional divination system has its own unique framework that you need to master before you can bring your intuition into the room. Let's look at how you approach studying a few of these ancient methods. Let's start with runes. When you are learning an ancient system like the Elder Futhark runes, your study starts with history and mythology. You're not just going to memorize symbols. You are learning the cultural framework of the Norse peoples. You study the three edits, the family of 8 runes, the linguistic roots, the elemental associations, and the specific poem stanzas tied to each character. You practice drawing 1 rune a day, meditating on its core energetic boundary, and writing down how its specific theme shows up in your physical environment. Let's talk about tasseography and caffeomancy, tea leaves and coffee grounds. Studying the art of reading cups is all about geometry, spatial awareness, and traditional symbolism. A real study practice involves learning the geography of the cup. The rim represents the immediate present and physical environment. The sides represent the near future and processing space. And the bottom of the cup represents the distant future or deep subconscious roots. You learn the traditional meanings of fundamental shapes, lines, circles, animals, numbers, and practice observing how those shapes sit relative to the handle, which represents the seeker. Now, let's take a look at palmistry. Learning palmistry is an exercise in biological and energetic mapping. You begin by studying hand shapes and the 4 elemental hand types: earth, air, fire, and water. From there, you memorize the major lines: the heart line, the head line, the lifeline, and the fate line, learning how their depth, length, breaks, and curvature reveal physical and psychological patterns. Then you study the mounts of the hand, which map directly to planetary energies like Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. You practice by making prints of your own hands over time or studying hand charts, learning the physical facts of the hand long before you offer an intuitive interpretation. When it comes to tarot, your study needs to follow a logical progression rather than trying to memorize all 78 cards and book descriptions at one time. First, you will study the architecture. You'll learn the story of the Fool's Journey through the 22 major arcana cards. Then you master the 4 elements and suits: wands as fire and action, cups as water and emotion, swords as air and intellect, and pentacles as earth and physical reality. Then you'll study the court cards as psychological archetypes and developmental stages. And finally, you'll layer in numerology. Once you learn what the number 3 or 7 means across numerology, you suddenly unlock the core foundations for the Three of Wands, the Three of Cups, Three of Swords, and the Three of Pentacles simultaneously. When you build your knowledge layer by layer, archetypes, elements, numerology, symbolism, you create a mental matrix. You stop trying to memorize a textbook and you start reading the card like a fluent speaker reading a sentence. Now, if you want to take this out of theoretical study and actually learn how to read tarot with real structural precision, I have something special for you. A few times a year, through my business, The Magic Siren, I host my deeply comprehensive 4-week tarot workshop. This workshop is designed specifically to dismantle the myth that you only need intuition and instead teach you the real traditional mechanics of the deck. As a generational reader, I walk you step by step through the core meanings of all 78 cards, the deep symbolism of the Fool's Journey, elemental dignities, suit mechanics, spread building, how to deepen your intuition when reading the tarot deck, and so much more. But more importantly, I teach you the exact framework for how to seamlessly blend those traditional meanings with your natural intuition so you can deliver grounded, accurate, and deeply transformative readings for yourself and others. Whether you are a complete beginner who wants to start on the right foot, or an established reader who wants to clean up your mechanics and build real confidence, this workshop is built for you. You can head over to themagicsiren.com to check for upcoming workshop dates. And if you're listening to this podcast when it's being released, we are hosting a workshop in October of 2026. So go over to the website, check out the upcoming dates, jump on the wait list, or reserve your spot. When you commit to learning the real language of these tools, you honor the lineage of the craft, you step out of the social media noise, and you become a truly exceptional reader. We have covered so much essential ground today, and I am so grateful that you sat in the circle with me for this conversation. If there is one core truth I hope you carry with you as you close this episode, it's this: respecting your divination tools does not diminish your intuition, it elevates it. When you take the time to learn the traditional grammar of the cards, the lines on a palm, or the shapes in a cup, you honor the generations of practitioners who kept these arts alive. You give your intuition a strong, clear vessel to speak through rather than forcing it to wander without a map. My challenge for you this week is to take a quiet step back and audit your relationship with your tools and your digital space. Notice where you might be leaning on cards as an anxious crutch or getting pulled into social media doom scrolling. Try doing a simple daily check in using only your physical gut before you touch a single deck or open an app or any other tool of divination. Practice listening to your body's internal radar first and let your external tools serve as a sacred mirror, not as a substitute for your own authority. Okay, next week, we are diving into a topic that touches every single one of us: money magic, abundance without guilt. We are going to break down how to actually perform money magic in your home, step into your personal abundance, and unlearn the subconscious guilt that tells us we shouldn't want or desire financial security. Whether you are an everyday practitioner wanting to attract wealth into your personal life, someone trying to break ancestral scarcity loops, or a spiritual entrepreneur navigating charging for your craft, this episode is going to dive deep into all of it. We will explore practical spell work, mindset shifts, and how to build a clean, thriving relationship with physical wealth without compromising your integrity. You do not want to miss it, so make sure that you hit the subscribe button right now so when it drops, it goes straight into your feed next Sunday. If today's episode brought you clarity, challenged your perspective, or gave you a fresh appreciation for the craft, please take a quick moment to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Maybe share a comment with your favorite divination tools if you're watching on YouTube, or maybe even take a screenshot and post it on an Instagram story and tag me at the Magic Siren. It means the world to me and it helps our circle grow with intentional, real deal practitioners. And if you want to jump into the upcoming 4-week tarot workshop or book a live session with me, head over to themagicsiren.com. Don't forget to use your listener discount code Siren Circle at checkout for 10% off your tarot reading or live session. Trust your gut, respect the craft, and honor your own inner authority this week. I'm sending you so much aloha and grounded energy, and I hope to see you again next week. Until then, stay magical. Aloha.